Alright, Shalom Akim. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this previous Capitol Hill, as it says there. This week in Congress, UFO debate files in Capitol Hill. So I just want to touch a little bit on this article here in the Military Times. We're just going to go through one of bits and pieces, highlight some of the main points, and just maybe perhaps hit a couple of precepts. But we're going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Harakat Kodash. Give double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. And yes, the house of David is rising. So this is what it's saying here. This was what, May the 16th. This was last week sometime. So it says, this week in Congress, UFO debate files onto Capitol Hill. UFO debate files onto Capitol Hill. So they, no doubt they got a lot of files on these so-called UFOs or UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. It says the Congress has a full state of budget hearing scheduled across Capitol Hill this week, but much of that attention will be abducted by UFOs on Thursday. I remember this was on mainstream news, one of those mainstream news channels. So I said, let me just see what's going on, just go through the article, because as brothers know, we've been seeing them, and it's not just like, this is nothing new, you know, we've been seeing them and they're getting closer and closer and closer. And let's hit a precept just to start to get the stage. Jeremiah chapters 10 and 2. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathens are dismayed at him. So yeah, he's saying, do not be dismayed, man. This is all their biggest threat. This is UEs and Goyim, the Russians, and all you Goyim and other nations which are estranged to Yehovah Shemel Shai, estranged from the wound. Psalms 80, is it Psalms 58 and 3? You're estranged from the wound. So when you see these so-called UAPs that you can't understand, you can't pigeonhole in any way, you become frightened, you become dismayed. But let's go into it. The members of the House Select Intelligence Committee will hold an open hearing. Like I say, all mainstream news, this is happening on hearing on unidentified aerial phenomenon, the first in more than 50 years, under Secretary of the Defense for Intelligence Ronald Moultrie and Deputy Director of Naval Intelligence Scott Bray will testify before the panel on recent research and finding from the Defense Department. So it goes on, and there's a lot of articles on it, as you can see here. Right, UFO briefing Capitol have begun. Lawmakers, there's one here. Pentagon officials testify at first public UFO hearing in more than 50 years. Done a little bit of digging. The 50 years, because I think they're saying that over 400, it's now over 400 UFOs have been spotted that cannot be identified, you know, pigeonholed. They don't understand. And I came up with this because I remember this interview in my times and travels. This is they mentioned this was the last time they had an open hearing on it. Here's the guy here, Major General John A. Sanford's statement on flying saucers. They called them flying saucers then. Pentagon, Washington D.C., the 7th 31 1952. So as it says there, this was the last time they had, or the first time, and as it says there, this was the 50 years ago. Oh, and here's another one here, which I done a video on this. The chariots of the Lord are thousands, even thousands of angels. Like, yeah, on this guy here. I've done a video on him. UFOs and National Security with Luis Elizondo, former Director, Advanced Airspace Threat Identification Program. Here he is. Check out the video I did on this. Psalm 68. That was the title of it. Psalm 68. The angels are thousands, even thousands of angels. Here's an infamous character. If you want to find out a little bit more about him, either check out my video or it's all out there for us to check out for ourselves, man. It's all out there. There is a push in Congress to find out once and for all are we alone? It isn't philosophical query, but a demand to disclose any information the US government has been gathering unidentified aerial phenomenon, as popular known as the UFOs. Last December, as part of the INOBOS spending and sea relief package, Congress stipulated a report conducted by multiple agencies must be handed over this month with detailed analysis of UAP sightings by US military members. Luis Elizondo is the former director of the Advanced Airspace Threat Identification Program, AATIP, an unpublicized US government program created in 2007 committed to the investigation of the UAPs. Luis Elizondo, Jacqueline Alimony, author of Alimony, if I'm not pronouncing that right, author of the Power Up newsletter and congressional correspondent on Thursday, June the 8th at 3:30 p.m. ETs. Yeah, so yeah, you can check out my video anyway. Scriptures to back it up, which we know it goes all the way back to the scriptures. Everything's scriptural, everything's in the Bible. So here's a character here. Let's check this guy out. I wanted to hear what he has to say. This was when they referred to the last open congressional meeting was 50 years ago. Here he is. This is 1952. Let's hear what he has to say. And for some of you brothers, it might ring a bell. This face might jerk your memory a bit. So this is the meeting, the open meeting in the Pentagon, Washington, D.C.
I'm here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. The Air Force interest in this problem has been due to our feeling of an obligation to identify and analyze to the best of our ability anything in the air that may have the possibility of threat or menace to the United States. In pursuit of this obligation, since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1,000 and 2,000 reports that have come to us from all kinds of sources. Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological...
So what you're saying is they've been able to explain them away. They've been able to explain them away, and it gives all the different examples. Listen keenly, because I thought this was interesting. Listen keenly.
Hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, of them. Explain them to our own satisfaction.
To their own satisfaction, they've been able to explain them away. I like listening to it. Sometimes it's good to hear what he's talking about.
Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena.
Well, as friendly aircraft as or electronic phenomenal. In other words, they've been able to explain them away as no threat to the human society, to the human race. That's really what he's saying there. We've been able to keep the public at bay without making them panic. Basically, lying to them.
Of this great mass of reports, we have been able adequately to explain the great bulk of them, explain them to our own satisfaction. We've been able to explain them as hoaxes, as erroneously identified friendly aircraft, as meteorological or electronic phenomena, or as light aberrations. However, there have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
Right, so well, you heard it, man. In other words, the credible witnesses have blown all my lies and all my deceit out of the water, you know. So I can't no longer hide. I can't no longer tell you these lies. The credible witnesses have overpowered it. The truth has to come out. Yeah, there's nothing you can do against this truth, but only for the truth.
That have been made by.
So I'm gonna let it play out now without doing any more interruption. I'll try anyway. This is an interesting interview. This was in 1952 by Major John Stanford regarding in the Pentagon and the Washington D.C. what they've been seeing in forbidden airspace, what they call their forbidden airspace by so-called aerial UFOs or aerial phenomenon.
Credible observers of relatively incredible things. It is this group of observations.
And I like those choice of words. Credible observers. It's lucky, man. I've got to break this down. For those who may not know, maybe you've come across this for the first time. He's saying that they've been credible observers, but been able to explain these incredible phenomenon. So now he's really saying, this out of my hands. I can't no longer hide it, man. This is an incredible, out of this world phenomenon. And there's more. And you could pull this interview out for yourself. This is about 4 minutes, just around about 5 minutes long. You can pull it out for yourself. Major General John A. Stanford, the Flying Saucer, Pentagon, Washington, D.C. I'll say no more, man.
That we now are attempting to resolve. Our basic difficulty in dealing with these is that there is no measurement of them that makes it possible for us to put them in any pattern that would be profitable for a deliberate, custom sort of analysis to take the next step.
Cannot be categorized, cannot be pigeonholed, cannot be exploited. In other words, you can't exploit them, you can't pigeonhole them, you can't categorize them. He's saying it out of his own mouth, man.
We have, as of date, come to only one firm conclusion with respect to this remaining percentage, and that is that it does not contain any pattern of purpose or of consistency that we can relate to any conceivable threat to the United States. Is that?
No consistency. So you can't categorize something that you can't, shows no consistency. You can't pigeonhole it. Unpredictable. Therefore, it is unpredictable and out of your hands.
We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any department of the United States. We can say that the recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
Watch me for the signal there, sir. Start.
I'll start when you throw down.
Wait a minute. Hold it, boys. Everybody ready?
Yeah. Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real, what is your opinion of these new sightings of unidentified objects?
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin. During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed. One case, pilots reported their plane was buffeted by an object which passed them at 500 miles an hour. Obviously, this was a solid object, and I believe it was from outer space.
What? One more time. One more time for your ears only.
Watch me for the signal there, sir. Start.
I'll start when you throw down.
Wait a minute. Hold it, boys. Everybody ready?
Yeah. Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real, what is your opinion of these new sightings of unidentified objects?
Right, Major Keyhole, as author of the book Flying Saucers Are Real.
With all due respect to the Air Force, I believe that some of them will prove to be of interplanetary origin. During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed. One case, pilots reported their plane was buffeted by an object which passed them at 500 miles an hour. Obviously, this was a solid object, and I believe it was from outer space.
Yeah, one of the pilots said that they came across one of the so-called UFOs and it passed them 500 miles per hour. You heard it. Enough said.
During a 3-year investigation, I found that many pilots have described objects of substance and high speed. One case, pilots reported their plane was buffeted by an object which passed them at 500 miles an hour. Obviously, this was a solid object, and I believe it was from outer space.
Enough said. I need say no more. One precept. Psalm 68 and 17 says, "The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels, and the Lord is among them, as in Sinai in his holy place." Giving our praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai. You know the scriptures very well. Jeremiah 10, the heathens are dismayed, but we know what time it is. Shalom to all the sincere Akim, until the next one.